Good morning, and welcome to our Sunday morning worship. I am Martha Schmidt, and I'll be the celebrant this morning. I've been a member of this church for a long time. I'd like to extend a special welcome to all those who are joining us for the first time. We are glad that you are here. If you've come in person, we hope you have received a welcome packet with an information card in it. And if you don't have one yet, please ask following the service. But I will tell you that they're located on the table in the foyer here and the table by that door over there. There is a card in it that you can fill out, and you can ask to be visited by someone. But if you don't check that box, we won't contact you. The card will help you, and a visit will help you make your way in our community. But you can do that on your own also, and if you have questions, you can ask any of us. If you are joining us online, there's a link on our website to an electronic version of that same card. Our welcoming committee members have yellow name tags and can answer any questions or point you to additional information. Whether you are new or not, please consider staying for coffee and conversation after the service, either downstairs in our fellowship hall or in our Zoom room. And if you'd prefer someplace a little quieter, you can also grab a beverage and head to the minister's office, which is on the ground floor, one floor below us, last door on the left, over this direction, where a member of our worship team will host a smaller gathering. We want everyone to feel supported and at home here. And now, let's say our words of welcome together. Whether this is your first or your 1000th Sunday with us, and whether you strolled, rolled, zoomed, ran, or danced in, we are glad you chose to join us. We are one people of many beliefs, identities, origins, sexualities, and genders. All are welcome here. Now we will say hello to the folks attending on Zoom. First, we're going to show the people attending on Zoom. If you are at home, please turn on your camera and wave. Now, people who are attending the service in our building, it's your turn to wave. We do have 3 announcements. Margaret?
Although it seems very spring-like, and the vernal equinox is coming up. It's been a while since we've had a vernal equinox celebration, but Mark Willis and I are trying to plan one. If you'd like to meet with us, if you have any ideas about it, you'd like to meet with us, let's say in the southwest corner of the fellowship hall, that way. See, that's one thing you need to learn for this. Anyway, so if you've got any thoughts on the matter, we'll see you after church.
And then you want to tell the date and time, maybe?
Well, the date and time is the actual equinox is something like 7:45 Friday, March 20th. We can work with that a little bit because, traditionally, the 21st always says the beginning of spring, so we might do it then. Anyway, if you have thoughts, come and see us.
Okay, and then I wanted to announce that next Saturday, this coming Saturday, the 14th, that we are hosting a benefit fundraiser concert for the it's Weekend Food for Kids? Okay, great. So for Weekend Food for Kids, Gefilte Trout, the local band of celebrities will be performing. So that starts at 3:30 this coming Saturday. All right.
Hooray for matinees. Me and Jamie Lee Curtis, we love matinees. Okay, hopefully when you arrived, you received a purple Helping Hands survey. Yes, if you didn't get one, go ahead and raise your hand and Elizabeth will bring you one. We're out. Well, I guess that's a good problem to have. Yeah, we can put 2 people on one. So basically, it's been probably at least, I think the last time we updated our good for lists was pre-pandemic. So it's been quite a while. These are lists of people that we contact when someone in our community needs practical help, whether that's meals or rides or help moving. You're not committing to anything at this point. You're just giving us permission to reach out to you for the specific kinds of help that you identify. And we're actually going to fill it out right now. And we're not going to do anything else. Raise your hand if you need a writing utensil too. And when you finish, you can pass it to the end of the row, and Elizabeth. Oh, we found a few. So if you did not get a purple form, raise your hand. Elizabeth found some more. Oh, we have some, we need to take some up to the, can we have somebody run some up to the balcony? John or Ruth, would you guys be willing to run some of the purple sheets up to the balcony? Oh, okay, never mind. Elizabeth, okay. Elizabeth, John said he'd do it too. When you're done, just pass it down to the end of the aisle on one side or another, and we'll collect them. Okay, we good? All right. Thank you, everyone. We just find that this is the best way to actually get people to turn them in. Okay. Did you hear that? Mm-hmm. You want to go ahead and
The Good For list will also be online on the website.
Oh, we're going to send it out via email for people to
Oh, okay, and it'll also come in an email. Yeah. That's why you need that welcome packet, so you can find out how to sign up for the emails. A lot of good information comes every Friday, or maybe it's Thursday, from our secretary. Here end the announcements. The land on which our church is built is part of the ancestral homeland of the Nimipu, the people, and mistakenly called the Nez Perce or Pierced Noses by French-speaking trappers and traders. We acknowledge the land is held in sacred kinship since time immemorial. The land and its peoples suffered immeasurable trauma brought by Euro-American society, and we are working with its resilient peoples to show respect and contribute to the healing and nurturing of this Hayawit Wayet, precious land, and all its peoples. We are hoping that folks joining us via Zoom have a chalice or a candle to light and something to light it with. Daddy, you might have to come with her. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share.
Good morning. Good job getting out of bed on daylight savings. I'm impressed. So I am the Reverend Dr. Elizabeth Stevens, and I'm lucky enough that I get to serve this congregation as its minister. And can I be honest with you? When it's nice outside, there's a part of me that when I get up here, I want to look out at you all and say, what the heck are you doing here? Go outside and play. So it's no secret that I love being outdoors. I hike almost every day. I find solace and inspiration and peace in the woods of Moscow Mountain, but also in the desert of southern Utah, the redwood forests along the Pacific coast, and of course in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, where I was born and raised. Pretty much anywhere else in, I call it big nature, too. I'm someone who needs regular nature on a daily basis and who makes pilgrimages to big nature multiple times a year. But truly, it's hard to call any place regular nature. If it ever stops feeling miraculous to see the clusters of ladybugs on tree branches or to feel the breeze coming through the cedars, I'll know that something important and vital in me has died. Now, there's a strong historical thread of reverence for nature, or we could even call it nature worship, that runs through Unitarian Universalism. It started with the Transcendentalists, among them Thoreau, Emerson, and Thomas Starr King, who I will reference a little later in the service. These were people who read their Bible but then put it down and went outdoors and found the natural world to be their primary sacred text. The insights they garnered helped lead all of our theological ancestors out of the pews and into the forest. In the present, this thread is expressed in our strong commitment to both science and environmentalism. It's reflected, too, in our aesthetic. If you wander around the church, what you'll notice is that the vast majority of our art pieces take at least some of their inspiration from the natural world. And this thread bubbles up again and again when we, as individuals or as a collective, work on articulating our spirituality. So what did our ancestors learn when they took nature as their primary sacred text? And how does our relationship with the natural world inspire and transform us in the present? Those are some of the questions that we'll be exploring together today. Let's begin by singing together, though. Hymn number 38, Morning Has Broken. And now I'll invite the children forward for a story. If you brought non-perishable goods for our little free pantry, bring them with you. I invite you now into a time of meditation or prayer with these words by Jennifer Johnson. Waiting to grow again. Spirit of life, source of being, open our hearts and minds to all that is possible in this season of liminality, this in-between season, sometimes winter, sometimes nearly spring, not quite one or the other. Beneath the crust of earth, seeds and bulbs lay in store. Some, crocus and daffodil, have dared to pierce the surface, braving to become the next iteration of self, a new bloom. On the forsythia and magnolia branches, petals curl into themselves, swelling into uncertain buds, waiting for the optimal conditions of light and warmth and rain to unfold into their potential for beauty and delight. On the bare branches of maple, oak, and elm, tiny leaves are invisibly budding, readying themselves for their debut, a new wardrobe for a new season. We too are waiting to grow again. Like perennial plants and deciduous trees, we don't grow along a singular trajectory from infancy through childhood to the full bloom of adulthood and the wider unfolding of elder years. Rather, we grow anew, year upon year, in seasons and cycles. In the cold and dark of winters, real and metaphorical, we hunker down, seek shelter and stillness, conserve energy so that new vitality can germinate. In this liminal season, we are waiting for signs of longer light, lasting warmth, and quenching rains, waiting to grow again anew. What new growth is budding in you, readying itself to make its debut, to adorn the world with new beauty and delight? In the silence, can you hear it singing? Amen, and blessed be. I have two readings for you this morning. One is historical and one is contemporary. The first comes from the minister, Universalist and Unitarian minister, the Reverend Thomas Starr King, and it comes out of an 1863 sermon entitled Lessons from the Sierra Nevada. I believe that if on every Sunday morning before going to church, we could be lifted to a mountain peak and see a horizon line of 600 miles enfolding the copious splendor of the light on such a varied expanse, or if we could look upon a square mile of flowers representing all the species with which the creative spirit embroiders a zone, or if we could be made to realize the distance of the earth from the sun, the light of which travels every morning 12 millions of miles a minute to feed and bless us, and which the force of gravitation pervades without intermission to hold our globe calmly in its orbit and on its poise. If we could fairly perceive through our outward senses one or two features of the constant order and glory of nature, our materialistic dullness would be broken. Surprise and joy would be awakened. We should feel that we live amid the play of infinite thought, and the devout spirit would be stimulated so potently that our hearts would naturally mount in praise and prayer. The second is called Charge from the Earth by Irene Glass and Rebecca Savage. There is a song beneath the soil. 10 million voices raise their call in no human language. Life flows through the tangle of roots, mycelium, microbiota, the crawling, burrowing, tunneling life. The song flows upward through trunks and stems and blades of tender grasses and races out into the air. It is picked up and carried on no human tongues. It is in the footfall of paw and hoof. It hums in the buzz of wings and the fluttering of feathers. It shines on scales and fins and slithering skins. And if we are quiet and pay attention, sometimes we remember that we are part of this song as well, and we have notes to sing. The Anthropocene is an experiment. What happens when we humans forget that the life around us is part of us, that these lives have no less inherent worth and dignity? How many more singers of the Earth Song will go silent forever? Today we are charged to remember, to know that as we live together in community, we are also in community with the silently singing lives in the vast congregation of the earth as well. The interdependent web of existence is no allegory. It is as real as the heart beating within our chests. We are charged to do what we can to help those who cannot advocate with human language, who cannot scream for help when they are suffering. We have a role to play in softening the blow of the age of humans. We have a voice that can help to shape the world to come. We are so charged in the name of the sacred song, the tapestry of life of which we are a part. Let us remember and then act. Let's sing hymn number 1052, The Oneness of Everything. Is the choir going to come up here for it?
Yeah, the choir will lead from the front.
This is not a very hymny hymn. It's a little wild, so if you don't read music or you don't get it, just sit and listen. It's all good. When I tell the story of Unitarian Universalism in our new to UU workshops, I typically state that Transcendentalists, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, and their contemporaries, are primarily responsible for expanding the limits of our faith beyond Christianity. In their 19th century embrace of deism and the personal experience of God and nature, as well as their willingness to read the sacred writings from other religious traditions, newly translated to English, they widened the conversation and paved the way for our later embrace of humanism and other spiritual paths. In addition to busting through the metaphorical doors of Christian thought, though, they busted through literal doors and took their faith, which became ours in time, outside the meeting house doors and into the woods. Emerson's seminal book, Nature, not only encourages people to go outside, but theorizes that the spiritual journey requires connection and contemplation of the natural world. Not just our individual spiritual journey either. For Emerson, the path to world peace and human unity led through an authentic naturalism that sees our species as part of the ecosystem. Meanwhile, his concept of the oversoul, the divine universal spirit that permeates all that is a precursor to our own interdependent web of all life. Now, inspired by Emerson, Henry David Thoreau famously left civilization behind and went to go live in a tiny cabin by Walden Pond and write about his experiences there. Turns out his retreat may not have been as comfortless as all that. Apparently his mom still did his laundry and occasionally brought him food, but his careful and lyrical observations certainly fed his spiritual life and offered important insights to countless others who have read his work over the years. And then there's Thomas Starr King, who's less well known than Emerson and Thoreau, which is a shame because he's really a remarkable figure. Raised in New York City, the son of a shoemaker turned Universalist preacher, he became the sole support for his family when he was 15 and his father died. Starr King was also inspired by Emerson, but was known for being actually more eloquent than either Emerson or Thoreau. He was eventually recruited to serve the first Unitarian Society in San Francisco, which is why he's both a Universalist and a Unitarian, long before merger. Now, Starr King's always been a favorite of mine. The fellowship I grew up in New Hampshire was named for him, Starr King UU Fellowship. It turns out that while living and working in Boston, he spent a lot of time in those same White Mountains where I used to ramble as a young person. He'd go up for the sake of his health. He had tuberculosis. And he wrote a book about them, about the White Mountains. And the seminary I attended in Berkeley, California was also named for him, Starr King School for the Ministry. So I feel a personal connection to the man. Starr King is widely credited with both keeping California in the Union during the Civil War and saving Yosemite. While serving in San Francisco, he wrote extensively about the valley and then commissioned photographs by frontier photographer Carlton Watkins that he then sent to influential friends he had back east. After his death, Abraham Lincoln, who greatly admired Starr King, convinced Congress to pass the Yosemite Bill, setting the valley aside in perpetuity as a park. Now, all three of these men and countless other Transcendentalists wrote and spoke passionately about what we would name today earth-based spirituality. There are many different flavors of earth-based spirituality present in modern-day Unitarian Universalism. There's an organization called CUPS, the Covenant of UU Pagans, that has chapters in many congregations. I think there was one here for a while, though it had disbanded by the time I got here. And the Earth-Based Spirituality group that was in place when I got here in 2012 parted ways with CUPS, and that group has since gone dormant, although I would think it would be fairly easy to revive it if there were any interest. I think part of the dynamic in this particular community is that while we have a handful of pagans and Wiccans, we have a plethora of people who embrace a more transcendentalist style eco-spirituality. And since I would number myself among them, let me share just a little about what I mean when I say that. Always with the caveat that you don't need to agree with anything I say ever, and that my answers, definitions, and descriptions are mine and may or may not reflect those of other people who also spend time traveling on this particular spiritual path. For me, the journey began with an intuitive sense of awe and reverence for the natural world. I remember as a very small child lying on my back and watching the snowflakes drift down, feeling completely at home and connected to all that is. I always preferred playing outside to being cooped up indoors. Spent much of my childhood tromping around in the woods near my home, building forts, making up stories, observing salamanders and bugs and worms. One of my favorite things to do was to turn rocks over and see who was hiding underneath. And I knew not to touch them. My parents told me that the oil on my skin would damage the protective barrier on their skin and make them sick. Does anyone know if that's actually true? Or were they just yeah, okay. Anyway, it worked. I never touched them, I just watched them. I've also always felt a sense of emotional communion in nature. I feel connected to animals, to my pets, but also to the birds and beasts I see in the wild, with the exception of mosquitoes. My mother taught me to look for and identify different plants, and I've never been able to resist taking my shoes off and going barefoot if I find a good patch of moss or a brook or a stream that looks like it would be good to wade in. When I read Robin Wall Kimmerer's Braiding Sweetgrass, and she encouraged us to listen to and learn from the plant and animal people, I knew exactly what she meant. I find this path also comes with a fascination with biology and naturalism. I love learning about how the world works, thinking about cycles and systems. I think it's fun to research the life cycle of a salmon or to look at pond water under a microscope. Is that weird? No, okay, all right. I also find it meaningful to take the natural world as sacred text. And what do I mean by that? I think we can take how things are in nature as our primary example of how things and how we should be. So we find this incredible diversity in the natural world. Diversity is something we should value and aspire to. We see interdependence rather than independence. We see that everything is connected and our actions make a difference. So all this and more we can learn by observing and reflecting on the natural world. Of course, paying attention to the science leads inevitably to heartbreak these days. As everywhere we go, we see signs of human-caused damage attributable to climate change, pollution, or both. When I visited Alaska, I got to meet and even touch my first glacier. Have you ever met a glacier? I know intellectually that they're made out of ice and stone, but I swear they feel alive. There's this sense of connection and even sentience in them. They breathe. It was miraculous and unforgettable, and it was heartbreaking because to get to the glacier and after leaving the glacier to return to civilization, I had to pass these signs that indicated how much the glacier had receded over the years. So here was the edge in 1950, here was the edge in 1980. It was pretty dramatic. This concern for the well-being of the natural world is a key component of eco-spirituality. Now, climate grief is real, and it's hard to face it. But we have to feel the feelings in order to move out of denial and despair and into action, which is another important facet of authentic eco-spirituality. Like Starr King, our love of nature should inevitably invite us to do something, anything, to help mitigate the damage we humans keep inflicting on our precious planet. I found Joanna Macy's work incredibly helpful in moving past that sense of despair into a sense of agency and hope. There are a number of different processes and perspectives she offers that help me move past feeling that spiritual and emotional connection to actually doing something that might make a difference. Macy died last summer, but she leaves behind a powerful legacy. She created an organization that facilitates eco-spirituality workshops called The Work That Reconnects. Have any of you participated? You know, we should try and bring some here. They're really amazing. The work that reconnects is based on the following assumptions. Our Earth is alive. It is not a supply house and sewer for the industrial growth society. As most indigenous traditions teach, the Earth is our larger body. Our true nature is far more ancient and encompassing than the separate self defined by habit and industrial growth society. The planet as a living system, having evolved us into self-reflective consciousness, can now know and see itself through us, behold its own majesty, tell its own stories, and respond to its own suffering. Our experience of moral pain for our world springs from our interconnectedness with all beings, including humans of all cultures, from which also arise our power to act on their behalf. When we block our pain for the world by denying it or repressing it or viewing it as a private pathology, our power to take part in the healing of our world is diminished. Unblocking occurs when our pain for the world is not only intellectually validated, but also experienced and expressed. Cognitive information about the social and ecological crises we face is generally insufficient to mobilize us. Only when we allow ourselves to experience our feelings of pain for our world can these feelings reveal on a visceral level our mutual belonging in the web of life and free us to act on our moral authority. When we reconnect with life by willingly enduring our pain for it, the mind retrieves its natural clarity. Not only do we experience our interconnectedness in the Earth community and the human community, but also mental eagerness to match this experience with new paradigm thinking. Significant learnings occur as the individual reorients to wider reaches of identity and self-interest. The experience of reconnection with the Earth community, human and other than human, arouses desire to act on its behalf. As we experience our essential desire for the welfare of all beings, Earth's self-healing powers take hold within us. For these powers to function, they must be trusted and acted on. The steps we take can be modest ones, but they should involve some risk to our mental and social comfort, lest we remain caught in old, safe limits. Courage is a great teacher and bringer of joy. And last but not least, collective liberation within our species is essential to the flourishing of the larger web of planetary life. None of us are free until all of us are free. The industrial growth society is founded on and perpetuates systemic inequalities. These structural power dynamics play out painfully in human relationships. When they address generational and contemporary oppressions as they manifest, we truly enact the great turning. So what do you think? Should I try and find some facilitators to come and lead us through this? Okay. Now, the work that reconnects is described as a spiral that begins in gratitude. Gratitude for our beautiful world and the people in it. Gratitude promotes a sense of well-being, builds trust and generosity, and serves as an antidote to consumerism, motivating us to act for our world. Starting the dance in gratitude, Joanna Macy writes, is a refreshing alternative to guilt or fear as a source of motivation. From there, we honor our pain. Macy writes, the term honoring implies a respectful welcoming where we recognize the value of something. Our pain for the world not only alerts us to danger, but also reveals our profound caring. And this caring derives from our interconnectedness with all life. We need not fear it. As the awareness of our interconnectedness sinks in, we're able to see with new eyes, which Macy describes this way. When seeing with new eyes, you know that it isn't just you facing this. You are just one part of a much larger story, a continuing stream of life on Earth that has flowed for more than 3.5 billion years. Widening your vision increases the resources available to you, since through the same channels of connectedness that pain for the world flows, so also do strength, courage, renewed determination, and the help of allies. And finally, we're inspired to go forth and answer the call to action. She writes, there will be times when we become alerted to an issue and experience an inner call to respond. Choosing to respond to that call empowers us. Once we take that first step, we start on a journey presenting us with situations that increase our capacity to respond. Strengths such as courage, determination, and creativity are drawn forth from us when we rise to the challenges that evoke them. When we share our cause with others, allies appear, synergy occurs, and when we act for causes larger than ourselves, the larger community for whom we do this will be acting through us. Our actions lead us back to gratitude. Gratitude for the planet, gratitude for our own ability to make a difference, and for all of our allies and co-conspirators. And then the spiral begins again. Now, if any of this resonates with you, Transcendentalism, my personal reflections, the work that reconnects, you too may want to claim this path of eco-spirituality. And if not, no worries. We're not going to kick you out if you prefer to stay indoors with a good book. But this thread of concern for and connection to the natural world runs through our faith. And it's reflected in our values, in interdependence, of course, but also generosity, transformation, and love. Because even if you aren't the least bit outdoorsy, I would lay odds that you love this earth and love this life. After all, this planet is the only home we've got. May we do all we can to cherish it and care for it, for the sake of our own spirits and for the sake of the future. Amen, and blessed be. I invite you to rise now and body your spirit. Let's sing number 163 for the earth forever turning. Please be seated. Our closing reading is Hug the Prayer by Jennifer Pratt Walter. Hug the prayer before it leaves your body. Float it along like murmuring leaves. Deepen the prayer to minnows, to starfish in a wordless sea. Water it into the soil, gilding every earthworm and root. Your prayers are both journey and destination. Trust in your heart that they will find your name already alight in the cosmos, the somewhereness of you before speech or heart, before minnow or earthworm, before the eyeless leaves. Even if there is no target or deity, may the words of your heart roll on like numbers, a living monument with no taste of an end. Hug your prayers close, then fling wide their cage. Let's sing our musical benediction, There is a Love.
Oh
Please join me in the words to embody our chalice flame. We extinguish this chalice that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light our paths as we leave this place. May it guide our way until we are together. How can we experience it as anything other than love, the way the trees tirelessly breathe in our carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen to keep us alive? How can we experience it as anything other than love, the way the earth just creates these things that we need, all that we need to survive? And experiencing that love, how can we not return it? How can we not? How can we not choose to walk gently with reverence and gratitude always, wherever we go? I love you all. Go in peace. Come back next Sunday.